One, two, three.
क्लैप की आवाज तुम्हारी आई ही नहीं बाय द वे, क्योंकि जूम ना बैकग्राउंड नॉइज को सप्रेस कर देता है. तुम
Hey
पहले जरा
Ram.
आगे कोई बात नहीं, तुम आगे आ
Okay,
जाओ. और
let's see. I should fix it up.
for anybody who's wondering what we are doing, we're trying to give a clap here so that we can sync the audio and video. It's just something that we try to do. It's actually never going to happen. Hi, welcome back to my channel, Vinit Masram. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of the cinematic universe of Christopher Nolan.
Fantastic. I'm really excited for the rest of the films that we are going to talk about.
हम
Let's
काफी
jump into it.
haphazard non-linear manner में चल रहे, नहीं haphazard नहीं. See, there's a method to our
No, no,
madness
no.
also.
Yes, absolutely.
We started with Tenet, which led into Inception because we felt like they were kind of thematically similar movies about a heist, which led into Following, which was the first film Christopher Nolan ever made, which can be said was a blueprint of sorts for Inception. That's Vinny's opinion, and lots of other people as well. My opinion, and lots of other people as well, is that Following was a blueprint for Memento. So we spoke about Memento. Then Memento led us to Oppenheimer because it's got a similar visual style in that part of it is black and white and part of it is color, and then you're sitting there deciphering why it's black and white and why it's in color. Oppenheimer led us to the only other historical film Christopher Nolan has made based on real life events, Dunkirk. And Dunkirk is now leading us to Prestige. Why? Because Prestige also has a real life person in it, but it is a fictionalized version of Nikola Tesla. I love Prestige. My question is, how did we allow Amir Khan to do this to two Christopher Nolan movies? Gajini became Memento, and Memento became Gajini, and freaking Dhoom 3, man, what a joke that film is, and they've
Uh,
copied plots from the
so
Prestige.
I have no idea how the copyright invasion system works. I'm like, they are very quick to ban our videos, but I have no idea.
हाँ, यूट्यूब पे स्ट्राइक ऐसे आ जाती है. बड़ी बड़ी फिल्म बना देते तो किसी को खबर ही नहीं होती है कानों कान.
I'm like, everybody is just turning a blind eye towards that film. But I wish when Nolan had come to India, somebody in the audience had just said, like, sir, I have two films recommendation. Rajini and Dhoom 3. You must watch these two Indian films.
But why are we talking about Dhoom 3? We are here to talk
Let's talk
about
about Prestige.
Prestige.
Let's talk about
What
Prestige.
do you like Prestige?
I think it's his best film. I love the film, and I
Oh.
think it is his best one.
That's a tall
It is
claim.
best.
Explain yourself.
It's a best film in both narrative terms, in terms of his airtight narrative skills. If we saw fulfilling in any film, that's Prestige. There is not a single misstep in terms of storytelling. As his budgets got bigger and his scale got bigger, in terms of storytelling, in terms of narrative wise, he starts to falter a lot. Prestige is pitch perfect.
It really is a
It's
pitch perfect film.
pitch perfect in terms of his character development. It's pitch perfect in terms of his plot, explaining the plot to the audience, the beautiful final reveal in the
Which
film.
you see it coming. You see the
It's you
reveal
see-
coming.
yeah.
You know it's there. You know because nobody appears in a movie with that fake dadi mooch.
Yeah.
Where the film is deliberately hiding him from you, right? You hear
Yes.
about Fallon. You never see this Fallon, and you're like, it has to be a twin.
It
Because
has
the
to
film,
come.
the film tells you that it's a body double that he's using through the
Yes.
thing. But then
Yes.
even when it comes, it like fucking hits you like a sucker punch.
It's like Nolan himself is acting like a magician.
Like,
And
I'm telling you what my
telling you-
trick is. That's
Exactly.
secret.
And you
But
still
it's-
get baffled and swept away by the end of it. But apart from all of that, which makes the third act quite great, from the start till the end, it's a film that is riddled with great characters. There is a great central thesis in the film, like what is the length at which you can go to claim, to set your
Glory.
claim for fame? What is the value of glory? What is the value of historical greatness?
Yeah.
What length are you going to go? And are you even worried about the consequences of the craft that is
Yeah.
going to have on you once you have mastered it? Ultimate question, who are you fooling?
Christopher Nolan works with his actors over and over again. I kind of judge the actors that he doesn't work with again. And I'm like, why is he not in another Hugh Jackman film? Because Hugh Jackman is a movie star and is a very good actor. He's a very good performer. He's a showman. He can sing and dance and do the things. Why has Christopher Nolan never worked with him again? I always wonder. Has there been any interview where they said
And
anything
by the way,
about it?
perfect casting, Hugh Jackman, because
So
he
good.
is
So good.
the showman, fits to the character like a glove. One of the aspects that I absolutely love about Prestige is
Yeah.
this central narrative. It's very contained and it's very, you can, calling it limited will be a wrong word, but it's still very contained and airtight But at the same
Yes.
time, the film feels very big in terms of the scope. It's not like regular huge scope films like Interstellar or Inception or Tenet, but still the ideas are so appealing
Yeah.
that they themselves takes the life of their own and becomes more than what the film is trying to contain within that runtime. And that's why I call it like this his maybe his perfect film, the best film, because he's been able to make sure that his all the trickery of filmmaking that he does with multiple perspective storytelling, almost in a way non-linear storytelling. Again, it's the same. These are the same threads that he's been weaving from the first film. How much can you believe into what you think is the objective reality? So Prestige has a load of that. The entire quest to achieve this perfect trick by Hugh Jackman's character is itself he's like trying to fool himself and trying to fool the world at the same time.
It's again another movie about movie making. This much even more so because the film starts with saying that every magic trick has 3 acts. I see what you're saying. Every movie is a magic trick at the end of the day with 3 acts.
Yeah, he's not very subtle with that.
There's the subtlety here, right? Achha, you are the magician. I get it, Christopher. I get it.
there's always a self-insert character in every single film. And
Michael Caine playing another version of the butler. He's like, I got this. I'll take care of this and all that. But like a
How
more
good-
kind of like Batamis butler. Like I love him in
how
this.
good, how good is Michael?
He's so great.
He has that quality where you feel completely assured that you are in trusted hands.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is a lovely fallibility to his approach to portraying every single character. What do you think about Prestige?
I love Prestige. Again, it's one of the more approachable Christopher Nolan movies, and it's so vintage. Again, there is not a whole lot of confusing time travel happening. There is a confusion between what is subjective and what is objective, and who's telling the truth, and are you reading a diary or is the diary reading you? Right?
Yeah.
In the end, you find out in both the places that the diary is reading you. You're not really reading the diary.
Yeah.
I love it. It's great. Scarlett Johansson's accent notwithstanding, it's just so funny her attempt at the British accent, but I don't even mind because whatever. No, I remember being completely blown away by The Prestige, and I was obviously very, very young when the movie came out, and I obviously did not watch it in the big theater. I watched it, in my early 20s. I would say I must have been like 20 or 21 years old when I watched it illegally on my computer. And I was like, what is this style of filmmaking? Like, who makes a movie like this where you have two major movie stars, Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson? You're telling me that there's like every night Hugh Jackman kills himself and then comes back alive, and then he keeps the dead Hugh Jackman in like some warehouse, and I'm like, what is this? It's crazy. And David Bowie is playing Nikola Tesla again in the first shot. Nolan does this. He's giving away the climax of the film. In the first shot, you see all those hats.
Yeah.
In one of the earliest shots, right? Or they're like 50 hats.
That's the opening shot of the film.
Opening shot of the film, and you're like, why are there so many hats? But you forget it because then he just dazzles you with the magic trick, right? Then he dazzles you with the opening of the magic trick. Look at all these amazing things going on. And then later on, when you come back to the hats, you're like, you told me this. Oh my God, I am an idiot. He really likes to fool you, right? He really likes to pull the sleight of hand magic trick on his audience.
Yeah, and that's a mark of this great confident filmmaker.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the middle of the film. I mean, very early in the film, and there's a bird trick that is performed in front of a kid, Rebecca Hall's nephew. And he says,
"Where is his brother?"
But where's his brother? If you are not watching closely, as the film asks you to do in the
Are you watching closely? Yeah.
In the opening shot of the film, you completely miss it, and you are
it's
preparing
so cocky,
yourself.
no? It's so cocky. He's telling his viewers over and over, are you watching closely? Are you watching closely? And the viewer's like, yeah, shut up and show me the film. And then in the end, you're like, you were right.
I'm sorry.
You were right. I'm sorry.
Closely.
And also, in a manner of speaking, on my rewatch, it felt like the movie was telling me that the greatest tricks are the simplest tricks. The simplest thing is he has a twin brother, and there's literally nothing else to it. He has a twin brother जो नकली दाढ़ी मूंछ लगा लेता है. Complicated versions of a simple thing are bloated and unnecessary. Even wasteful, because Hugh Jackman wastes so much time and effort figuring his trick out, and he never figures it out right until the end. Again, there's the director's footprint. here in that there's a two-sided coin here as well. The same two-sided coin you see appear in the most famous Batman film. And
There
one
is
thing
a
I noticed
uh,
is the names put together.
mhm,
And I noticed this like literally last week when I was watching it again.
mhm,
Alfred Borden
mhm.
and Robert Angier.
Uh,
When you take the first letters of all the names, it becomes Abra, which is the last word Christian Bale's
yeah,
character says on screen, abracadabra. And
abracadabra. Yeah,
the first letters of all these names, Alfred Borden and Robert Angier, is Abra.
nice.
I
I had
just
not.
noticed this last week. I'm so proud of myself.
I did not notice that. As I said in the previous video also, that I have a love-hate relationship with Christopher Nolan, and I absolutely love his earlier
उसमें
films.
भी वाइफ मर जाती है.
उसमें भी wife मर जाती है. He's been very true with killing his wife. Again, like with Inception, like with Memento, Prestige also has a very definite part for the
It's a
film.
human story.
Yes, you want to achieve greatness
Yeah.
in your profession, every individual. It's like the same Whiplash story. What is the
Yeah.
extent at which you want to go to achieve greatness? There are real life, huge familial consequences that
Personal
that
cost that he pays.
personal cost that he has to pay.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the film does become about that. Is this worth trying? But the sense of, in a way, a professional revenge to one-upmanship is so high, they are so driven. As an audience member, you ask, but at what cost? I want to come back to the point, like, are you watching closely? Rebecca Hall's character, Sarah, when she keeps, like, there are throwaway lines, like, when he says, I love you or something, and it's like, you don't mean it. You don't mean it today, or
Today.
now you mean it.
Today you mean
And
it.
it's like,
Today you don't mean it.
it's like, it feels so offhand the line, and
Yeah.
feel like it's not much into it. But
And also, like in one scene in the beginning, when Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale are both novices and they're trying to figure out how the Chinaman is doing the trick, and Christian Bale immediately says that this is the trick.
this is the trick.
Him walking out of the theater and hobbling into the thing is the trick. Why? Because he's been pulling that same trick his
Yeah.
whole life. He's
Yeah.
been keeping up the pretense of who he is and who he isn't, and because he's been switching his life with his twin brother, he knows that that's the trick of
Yeah.
lying in public. That is the trick, and
Yeah.
not when you're on stage. When you're off stage is when the
Yes.
actual trick is.
All the breadcrumbs are there for the audience to guess the final act, but you still refuse to watch and notice them.
Continue. Now, coming to Insomnia, which unfortunately I have not watched. I am a very bad person for doing this video without having watched one movie. But please, Vinit, take us through Insomnia, and why is it that nobody knows that this film exists?
I have no idea. It's one of the most underrated films of Christopher Nolan. Again, very, very well made film, very airtight narrative, very focused, and have similar, like again, similar themes in most of the Christopher Nolan films, especially with how do you alter reality to suit yourself. People who have not seen Insomnia, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people haven't. So I don't want to spoil the film for you. I would highly recommend go watch it. Brilliantly performed by Al Pacino and Robin Williams. Robin Williams in a character that you will never notice. He's one of those very few characters which are against the grain for Robert Williams.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. And so it's a murder mystery, but at the same time, it stops being a murder mystery 30 minutes, 40 minutes into the film, and then it becomes more about concealing information, guilt, paranoia. It's in Prestige, it's in Memento. So the same themes are in Insomnia, but it's a brightly lit noir film. So anybody who's interested in it, do not expect big reveals. It's a very standard studio film, but at the same time, Nolan has been able to put his mark on the film and make it his own. Highly recommended, very underrated, brilliantly performed by the actors, and fantastically directed.
But coming to this, one of the films that nearly everyone in the whole world has watched and pontificated upon, because Prestige does remind me of Interstellar a little bit, because both the films are talking about sacrificing your personal life in the pursuit of something that is bigger than you. In Prestige, there is a more kind of selfish reason for why Hugh Jackman wants to do it, but in Interstellar, Matthew McConaughey's character wants to do it for the larger good of humanity and things like that, but he has to give up everything that he holds close, dear to himself in order to do that.
Yeah.
Do you like Interstellar?
I absolutely do not like it.
Explain yourself.
Oh my God.
You
I'm gonna
don't
get
like
lot.
it? Oh wow.
I'm
Okay.
gonna get a lot of hate for it. As I said, when I saw Inception, I was at the height of Nolan fandom. I was a big fan. Then The Dark Knight Rises came in, which we will talk about it a little later.
Shortly.
And I was a little underwhelmed. And then Interstellar came out, and I was like, oh, no, this is not. That's where I realized, like, he has stopped doing the things that he was best at. When he was working with smaller budgets, there was a sense of understanding of how much you can do within that limited budget. So his narratives were very airtight, even in terms of Inception, because the kind of the film it was and the grandeur and everything, the character development gave way to the concept. And that's why you see a lot of exposition in terms of to explain the plot. Film is super successful. Everybody loves it. I love it. No problem. Interstellar, I have no idea what Interstellar is about. What am I watching? What do I have to root for? Where is my narrative and emotional focus is in this film? Is it the film about the father and daughter relationship? If that's the case, then in a 2 hour, 40-minute runtime, there's hardly 40 minutes between father and daughter. The relationship isn't developed enough for me to invest myself. Cooper ultimately needs to get back to his daughter as the film progresses. That thread is only alluded to. It's never fully realized. Most of the stuff is left for inference in terms of Cooper's and Murph's relationship. Whereas when it comes to the science thing, that ultimately humanity cannot survive, so we have to leave the delicate biosphere of Earth and populate some other planets and find a place for the humanity to survive. Okay, if that's the place you want me to hold on to, again, you are breaking that entire thing with too much explanation and too much where I want to make my inferences. You want to linger over there and you want to explain the sciences and everything. I'm like, what is the narrative focus of this film? On top of it, it gets really heavy-handed, especially in the second half.
Heavy-handed to
When
hai. The fifth dimension is love. I'm
I'm
like,
like, when it gets to the Matt Damon's character, when you go on that planet, man's planet,
man's planet.
then I'm like, where is this film going? I'm ultimately watching two astronauts fist fighting on an alien planet.
Going down to the basics, like a really like fist fighting two men.
Fist fighting, yeah. All the grandeur and big ideas ultimately comes down to this. What was promised, in a sense, like felt like is not delivered. Ideas are great, but am I emotionally invested in those ideas? There are two scenes which I absolutely loved in the film. Two scenes in 2 hour, 40 minutes did not help me much.
Which are those scenes?
One is when Cooper comes back from Miller's planet, and because of the relativity, they have lost 23 years of their lives.
And then he meets the other scientist who's like, oh, hi, and he's old and bent.
He's old.
I love
and
that
he sits, yeah, he sits and watches all the messages that he missed out on all these 23 years.
Yeah.
Is that the heart of your film?
Like Timothée Chalamet becomes
Poor Timothée Chalamet got the worst end of the stick. He's like
he turns
Murph.
into Casey Affleck.
Yeah, I'm like Murph. I'm like, so much is Murph, and then it's like, what about your son? I'm like, he'll take care of himself. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Where is your emotional core?
Like वो तो फार्मर है ना, मेरी बेटी साइंटिस्ट है, मेरा बेटा फार्मर है, वो साइंटिस्ट बनेगी.
And the second scene was the action, quote unquote, set piece when man is trying to dock into the spaceship and they blast it, and then
immediately
Cooper goes in. He dies, and the Cooper docks into Lazarus.
Yeah.
So those two scenes are my favorite. I love to rewatch them again and again, but rest of the film just did not work.
My other favorite scene is when Anne Hathaway realizes that Cooper is about to sacrifice himself for her, so she can get to the planet that she wants to get to. I really like the visualizations of the black hole, and apparently they are so scientifically accurate of what a black hole possibly would look like on the inside. Then there's been like scientific papers on the way Hoytema and Christopher Nolan have explored the inside of the black hole.
Before we move on, again, coming back to the emotional core, where's the emotional core? After all that thing going into the fifth dimension, going into the black hole, which is absolutely stupid.
Yeah, still, that whole sequence is just like, calm down, man.
Yeah, but he still goes into the desert and sends back the quantum data to his daughter. All of that done, and he's being saved Now, your daughter is 100 years old, and through the entire film, you are promising me that the film is all about poop and birth. All right. You go and meet your daughter after all these years. And within the first meeting, she asks like, no, no, no. You
Oh
go
yeah.
to Anne Hathaway.
I don't
And
like that
he's
scene
like,
at
I'm
all.
like, what is happening? Why did I go through all these efforts if that is not what the point of the film is?
And also, I'm like, you are literally surrounded by your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. Do you not want to know who these people are in this room?
Yeah.
So much about family and so much about, a few. You've done this whole thing so the future of your family is secure, so that people can actually live their lives and they don't have to breathe in dust every day. This is your family. This is everything that
Exactly.
you stood for.
At no
You're not going to talk to any of these people.
Exactly. It's at no point film alludes that there's some sort of a romantic brewing happening between Anne Hathaway
Yeah.
And Matthew McConaughey's character.
Yeah.
But still, he is ready to leave his daughter
So he
again,
can have another family on another planet.
so he can have. I'm like, the movie is all over the place in terms of telling you what is the core of the
And
film.
also, what I don't understand about this film is that why does he have to steal the fighter jet in the end and go to that other planet? Why won't he actually be encouraged to do that? And why is he the only one who can do that and no one else can do that? Because they
No one
know
else
that
can do
Anne
that.
Hathaway is alive and she did make it to another planet.
Yeah.
They know that.
So
right?
why not send out a mission?
Then why does he have to
not send out?
steal that pilot, the plane in the end? I didn't get that. I'm
Wait
sure
for
there's a reason there.
Wait for maybe a good end sequence, very rousing music at the same
पर
time.
कुछ ना कुछ
but-
रीजन तो होगा ना वहां पर मतलब ऐसे थोड़ी कोई ऐसे सीन क्रिस्टोफर नोलन डाल देगा बिना रीजन के ना कुछ तो होगा वहां पे रीजन दिस फिल्म आल्सो इन ट्रू क्रिस्टोफर नोलन स्टाइल इज टेलिंग यू व्हाट इज अबाउट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट शॉट राइट टिल द एंड इट्स टॉकिंग अबाउट वंस you're a parent you're a ghost of your children's future and he's literally the ghost who shows up in Murph's bedroom.
Yeah.
This is the second film where Christopher Nolan has referenced India. The first one I think was Batman Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, parts of Rajasthan in the film.
Yeah.
This is the second one because you're talking about the Indian Air Force. Right in one of the opening sequences, you see a drone that is, being flying for many years from Delhi Mission Control, but Delhi Mission Control has been shut for 10 years. So what is this drone doing here? So they hack the drone. And then there is Indian reference in obviously Oppenheimer because one of the most quotable quotes of Oppenheimer is from the Gita, now I'm become death,
Yeah.
the destroyer of worlds. And he shot Tenet in Bombay. Those are the, I think, 4 India connections that
Connections. Yeah.
and he
not bad.
supports the Film Heritage Foundation. He came to Bombay. I saw him at the press conference. I didn't really get the opportunity to speak with him then because he was in Bombay to promote the restoration work that the Film Heritage Foundation does. I would like to believe that Christopher Nolan is an Indophile. I don't know if he actually is.
At least he understands like India is a huge market for his films.
Yes, so he includes a little bit of mention here and there, so that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I remember the crazy like people were just losing their minds that अरे जयपुर में shoot हुई है, Christian Bale जयपुर आया था, Jaipur या whatever nearabouts. I don't know exactly what the location
I think
was.
Jaisalmer. I think they shot
Jaisalmer
in
में shoot हुई
Jaisalmer.
है.
Yeah. But yeah,
I
go ahead. You speak.
Until the last sequence where like he goes, I like the sequence where he goes into the black hole, but what happens after that, I'm just like, it's not computing, like it's not going with the science of your film so far.
Yes.
What you're showing to me right now, it's just not working for me. And until that sequence, I really quite enjoy this movie. And I also like this film because it has a lot of human suffering that he's exploring in the way, one of his grandchildren dies while he's been gone, and when he comes back
Yeah.
and sees the messages, and to him he's been gone for a few hours, and in those
Yeah.
few hours his children have grown up. And then when freaking Topher Grace arrives in the end, and that whole sequence where they have to rescue the son and his wife and child from the house because he's like, no, this is where I was born, this is where I will die, and
Right,
he's
yeah.
having some sort of a mental breakdown of some sort where he knows that his wife and child are in danger but he's not letting them leave, and then how they hijack them and almost get caught and whatever. I thought that was a really nice thrilling sequence. I liked the film's visuals very much, like especially when the big explosions happen and you don't hear the sound because obviously
Yeah.
that's the science, there's no sound in vacuum, right?
Visually, film is absolutely fantastic.
I do believe that this is their first his first association with Hoytema and Hoytema, right? And since then they've
Yeah.
made all the films together only.
Yes.
I mean, I I really do like this film, except the last sequence, which pisses me off every time I watch it.
Yeah.
But until then, I really do like this film. I think Anne Hathaway is quite fantastic, even though she's a bit of a caricature of NASA scientist.
Yeah.
There's not much to her except being that one note character. I do hold it
There are,
against
there are,
Christopher Nolan. He doesn't flesh out his female characters as well.
he kills
He
them
doesn't.
before they have
Yeah.
anything to say.
इसमें भी dead wife. हर picture में bloody hell there's a dead wife.
I can go into the very small things also.
Another thing that annoyed me on my recent watch was when when he gets rescued from space and he's brought to the station that's rotating.
Yeah.
And you find out that MRI machines have come back into the world because the world has been saved. And, you're told in the beginning that his wife died because there were no MRI machines in the world anymore. Then they take him to the museum that they've created in his memory, which is his exact house. And that's when you find out that the Ken Burns documentary shots that you were watching in the beginning are actually documentary shots that are playing. Again, he's showing you his hand before the movie has even begun. And I'm like, the man who's responsible for saving humanity, Cooper, when he wakes up, some intern is not going to walk him to the museum. It's going to be the biggest event of all time. Like, there would be like whatever equivalent of a president they have on that colony would be there. There would be band, baja, there would be people standing on the streets and clapping for him and applauding for him. Why is this random intern type person walking him to his house and being like, हमने बिल्कुल save किया है जैसा आपका था. Another scene that really irked me was when they discover that this is a NASA outpost, him and his daughter. They find the coordinates and they're like, we're going to find out what these coordinates are. They get inside the room and then Michael Caine asks him, or his daughter Anne Hathaway asks him, do you not know what we are? Because he says, I want to leave here alive. And they're like, alive? We're not going to kill you. Do you not know who we are? We are NASA. And then they walk up and he opens a sliding door और उसके पीछे rockets ही rockets है. Sliding door के पीछे जिन पे काम चल रहा है. आज तक तुम्हें सुनाई नहीं दे रहा था एक कमरे के अंदर. इतने सारे rockets पे काम चल रहा है. And then, dude, Vinit, you see a shot of them walking into the room with the rockets and NASA का झंडा लगा हुआ है. जिस कमरे में वो बैठे हुए थे, वहाँ पे NASA का flag लगा हुआ है. आज तक तुम्हें वो झंडा, you worked with NASA, no? You didn't see NASA का झंडा in the room that you are sitting in?
In terms of also convenience, it's also the most plot convenient Nolan picture.
Acha.
There are so many things that happens because it has to happen in terms of, they don't have a pilot to man this entire spaceship, but hey, luckily we just have Cooper now. So I'm like, very conveniently he got himself at the right place at the right time. Yes, it was him all along sending him the coordinates. I understand that, but still it's very convenient. Very convenient that a proper astronaut all of a sudden doesn't realize that black hole in a 3D space is actually a sphere. So you have to explain everything to make sure. I'm like, you're talking to the audience. Like, come on, you're better than this.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway all of a sudden turning into this some sort of character from Jane Eyre's novels and turned into from a scientist went into the all of a sudden believer of love and transcending the space and time boundaries. Come on, that's the worst thing you can do. The 4 times the Dylan Thomas's poetry gets recited, I'm like,
do not go quiet into that night.
Do not go gentle into that
quiet. I'm like,
night. It's enough.
From here, we are going to jump to something that we are most excited to talk about more than any other Christopher Nolan film. The most excited to chat about Batman Begins. Dude, on my revisit, I was like, why is this film so underappreciated? Batman Begins is freaking phenomenal.
It is absolutely fantastic.
So good.
That was the first, as I said, that was the first Nolan film I saw. And I did not watch it as a Christopher Nolan film. I'm like, Batman ka picture. This was the time when all the superhero things was just started.
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Spider-Man had come out. Spider-Man 2 had come out, which I absolutely loved. It had all the ingredients that I love in a film. Great character development. Great. I'm like, the plot, they sort of repeated from the first part, which is in all the 3 Spider-Man films. Like Mary Jane gets kidnapped and the Spider-Man has to save her.
Oh, what a rage Spider-Man was. What a rage. You couldn't turn a corner without seeing Tobey Maguire's face.
And it was very true to the spirit of Spider-Man comic book and the characters.
It was like a dramatic film.
And then comes Batman Begins.
Yeah.
I was super pumped. I loved Batman always. I was a huge consumer of Batman novels and the comic book, the cartoon that used to come on Cartoon Network. Your reference point now of comic book films is Spider-Man, X-Men, Hulk, all of those films that come out. And this felt like it's an indie art house film which has Batman in it.
Yeah.
It's more of a Bruce Wayne film than a Batman film.
It is. It's another one where we start with Christian Bale in prison after
Told
Prestige.
in a very, very signature Nolan non-linear style in the early
Yeah, he can't
stages of
help
the
himself.
film. Works totally for the film, and it also he found a very good way of getting that old tired narrative of Bruce Wayne's parents dying and all of that.
I
So
mean,
he was
this
able
movie
to
walked so the rest of anything else we've seen since then could run. Like, you know, the whole
absolutely,
sequence of him at Ra's al Ghul's learning all the tricks and recovering and things like that. It's exactly what Benedict Cumberbatch's character does in the first Doctor Strange film. Goes to
yes,
Nepal, goes to Kamartaj.
and he ruined all the origin stories of most of the other characters.
Yeah.
In a sense, like it did it so perfectly. I remember we were six of us who went to watch Batman freshly into our college days.
So cute.
And everybody hated. यार एक घंटा तक Batman आता नहीं. And that's what I love most about the film. This is not the film about Batman. This ultimately is how Bruce Wayne begins. He becomes Batman, and that's why the title makes sense.
Why he needs to become Batman in today's
Yes.
world, because when he's training he says, I seek to fight justice, to turn fear against those who prey on the fearful. It is a political commentary on where the world is going, where capitalism is going. The gap between have and have nots is just consistently increasing until somebody decides to do something about it. You cannot trust the authorities anymore.
He says in the film, like, I have to become something big, I have to become a symbol.
Yeah.
So this entire character arc, in a way, is the symbol of that progression of general public and authority figure, and how their relationship progress, and how this structural imbalance will keep propagating unless a force comes in to make some sort of balance, put some sort of balance back into it. And he is willing to do that, and he's willing to become the symbol that has let go of the idea that he started off with, which was a very simple idea that I want to avenge my parents. Here is the character who, from having an idea, sort of becomes an idea himself. If that's the central thesis of the film, kudos to Christopher Nolan for having such great restraint into not falling privy to the regular blockbuster template storytelling. He refrained
Not
himself
falling
from
prey to
getting,
that, yeah.
yeah, allowing himself to have that restraint to not have Batman coming to almost an hour into the film. Frustrate audience. There were some who were, but people like me, and there are a lot more people like me who enjoyed that restraint
It's
even
so
more.
good.
The more you revisit the film, you sort of realize that it's really not much about Batman. It's way more about Bruce Wayne. And that is my biggest complaint about the recent Batman, the Matt Reeves Batman came out. The most boring character in the entire film is Bruce
Batman.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also incredible to see when the film was made, all these actors in the lead roles were either in their late 20s or early 30s. Like Cillian Murphy is a baby in the film, and like Katie Holmes and Christian Bale, they're all so young. Like I think Christian Bale was like 28 or 29 years old when he made this film. It's like really incredible to see how he's taken these young actors and made like this amazing, incredible indie feeling big commercial superhero film.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm going to take something as silly as Batman that has been the campiest superhero being explored in various fashions before, and turn it into like this dark, dramatic story about a city falling to ruins. A subplot about Batman discovering a subway under his house because his grandfather used to export slaves to freedom.
Yeah.
Freed slaves. He had a tunnel under his mansion. He helped them. I said, there's absolutely no need to put this in, but he has, because he wants to make it feel real. He knows that this is a superhero film and superheroes don't actually exist, but like there's no mention of anyone in his Batman films with any kind of supernatural powers, even though Batman exists in the DC universe where Aquaman is also real, and Batman versus Superman is like one of the main things of DC, and Superman is an alien. But in this universe, no one else exists except Batman. There are no other superheroes. Batman is not treated as a superhero. He's just treated as an eccentric billionaire. Joker की original story होती है कि वो, in my understanding, I could be wrong, but I think his origin story is that he falls into a vat of acid and then
There are
either
two,
that,
three.
either Harlequin or like I think like in the comics. I've not read the comics. All I know about the Joker is through the movies. But
Yeah.
here, the Joker is, just like a normal man, a normal person without any supernatural powers, who is like an unreliable narrator. We don't know how he got his scars because he keeps changing his stories of how he got his scars. Sometimes it's his father, sometimes he's done it to himself because his wife, whatever, and we don't know how he actually got the scars that he did. Again, watching The Dark Knight, which is the most celebrated Batman movie, is about Heath Ledger, about the performance that
Yeah.
Heath Ledger has given. Because I watched that film again last week, and I was like, why did anybody even try to do the Joker after this? You cannot attempt to touch the character. Joaquin Phoenix हो या Jared Leto, इस character को आप touch नहीं कर सकते हो, क्योंकि
No.
जो कर दिया आपका derivative होएगा ही होएगा performance इसका.
Yes.
You cannot escape this performance that Heath Ledger has given.
Which I believe is a good thing. Like, don't touch it much, which is absolutely done beautifully. Both Nolan
Yeah.
and Heath Ledger and Christian Bale, what they've done with the entire character of Batman, and especially
Yeah.
Heath Ledger with Joker, you need to have a couple of generations go by before you want to come back to this.
Yeah.
Because it so feels of its time.
Yeah.
The film is so contemporary that anybody touching it, as you very rightly said, it will be derivative.
Has
You
to be
cannot
derivative.
escape
You
from
can't.
You can't escape from that. Especially when we see every time, like Ben Affleck became Batman, the first comparison with, oh, how is it compared to Nolan's Batman? Jared Leto was Joker, oh, how is it? I mean, it's obvious. It's inevitable. You're not
Yeah.
escaping from it.
Yeah.
Coming back to Batman, The Dark Knight, one of the things that sort of got away from Batman Begins, which was brilliantly done. Gotham looked like Gotham in Batman Begins. Especially that entire section of Narrows where the third act takes place. That felt like this dingy, always wet, raining, muddy,
Gutter, overflowing gutters.
Yeah, overflowing gutter. It felt like proper comic book wala Gotham. In The Dark Knight, it did made like regular Chicago City.
Yeah.
Did not have much of a character of its own, but the
Yeah.
film works solely because has two brilliant central performances, very well done philosophical ideas.
Multiple
about-
brilliant central performances, even Harvey Two-Face.
Harvey Two-Face is very well done.
There's two antagonists in that film. There's two
Yeah.
villains in that film. It's so good. By the time the final film rolls around, I think he's pretty much moved it to Manhattan. It looks like New York.
Yeah, that is New York. And I think I'm not very sure how kicked he was to do this, because among the three films is definitely the weakest of the three.
Last one, yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
And also, I think it is Nolan's worst paced film. It just slingshots into time in a way that before you sort of caught on to what's happening right now, oh, we are already here. Again,
it's also the least quotable film. Like The Dark Knight has the most amount of quotes per square meter in a film that's possible, right? Some people just want to watch the world burn, and I'm a dog chasing cars. I don't know what I do. Do I look like a man with a plan? Why so serious? I guess, they're all Joker dialogues. And I don't know what क्या खाकर Joker के dialogue लिखने बैठे थे. एक dialogue इतना fantastic है. The only dialogue that I remember from Batman last wali is I was born in the darkness, when Bane says, you really adopted it. I was born in it.
You really
which is
adopted it. I was born in it.
Such a great line, such a great fucking line. But why hire a character like Marion Cotillard when you're not going to get her to do anything? Like, she does nothing in the film. She just turns up, and then you're like, oh, that's the twist, and then she dies.
Bane as a villain did not get his due, especially the way he ends. He dies also. Again, I love the aspect that I loved in Batman Begins also, that Nolan refrains and makes you wait for the Batman to appear, because it needs to be earned. If you've decided to leave the game and not come back, I think it's absolutely right that you don't show Batman as early as possible.
Yeah.
So in this one also, it takes almost an hour for the Batman
long
to come.
time for Batman to
And when he comes,
and all kinds of people.
So that when that sequence happened is very predictably rousing and exciting and very well earned moment.
Yeah.
But quickly after that, you again leave Batman for the rest of the film till like final 15-20 minutes of the film. And I think that middle part is where sort of it got muddled in terms of pacing, and it felt also derivative in a sense, like Bane has the same grandeur, plot and philosophy that Joker had. So in a sense that it felt like repetitive.
Yeah.
It's the same idea packaged into a new bottle. There is a lot of Oscar Wilde in the film. The Tale of Two Cities,
Yeah, Tale of Two
all
Cities is pretty obviously the biggest
biggest
inspiration,
thematic elements
thematic element. Yeah.
in the film. Very well done.
But I did like it better than I did watching it the first time. I remember watching it the first time and not liking it at all. But on my
Yeah,
rewatch, I was like, you know what, it's not so bad. I guess because on my rewatch also I watched all three of them back to back. So I was just excited to see where the story is going to end because I knew that it's coming to an end. So I didn't mind it so much.
I would agree with that. When I also saw it for the first time, I didn't like it at all. But when I
Yeah.
saw it like again a couple of times, I was like, huh, it's a good film. I'm like, by no means it's a bad film.
Yeah, it's not a
I'm not
bad film
saying
at
it's
all.
a bad
And
film.
none of them are bad
Uh,
films. They're all very, very
but
good films.
when
It's
we
just
are
like which one
comparing,
is film is better than the other.
yeah, when we are comparing like in a trilogy, is more the chances are more for the third film to be not very good compared to the first two.
It's
So
I found
it's a
it so
very
funny in the final one when he goes back to prison when Bane breaks his back and he goes
yeah.
to that Indian prison and he's recovering in the Indian prison. He finds one Alfred stand in there also, one British guy who's like doing his things for him, who's like fixing him. I was like, Alfred के बिना तेरे चलता नहीं ना. तो उसको वहां भी
I
Alfred मिल जाता है.
also I love like how Alfred keeps he keeps giving wisdom like it's fucking candy.
हाँ, correct.
कुछ भी हो गया. There is
तू
one
एल्फ्रेड
heavy
किताब लिख
dialogue.
जाके हाँ तू किताब लिख it did irk me the age gap between the child when we find out that's Marion Cotillard who escaped
Hmm.
from the prison and that her benefactor was actually Bane who she's now
Yeah,
like romantically in love with. I was like,
I did not get that. I'm like, I don't know what that word he loved me meant. I mean, that entire sentence. I don't know. I don't know in what way.
it's a little irky. Like it irked
Yeah.
me a little bit when she says, you know, just because he loved me or he loves me. And I was like, so did you guys get into a romantic relationship later on
Uh,
in life? Because you were clearly a child when he protected you. It's like a father-child relationship. So that was a little irky. There's also when he's in the prison, in well, kuएं wala prison, which is harking back to the first shot of the first film when he falls into the kuआं, one of the first shots. When he's recovering and he's trying to set his spine in place, उसके ना सेल के बाहर टीवी लगा हुआ है. और वो टीवी पे
I'm like, how are you getting reception? How are you getting reception that deep into that
I was
deep
like
into
the whole thing about this prison is that there are no TV, there are no guards, na, because you can't escape this prison, so there's no guards here or whatever.
what if you
Cables
lose
लगते हैं.
connection? Who comes to fix?
Like TV लगाओ.
Those little plot, those little
I know.
conveniences are just spread around the entire film. He just punches his back, and his back is now healed. Doctors are
Let's
तो
go.
भाई हम तो गधे हैं ना.
Because at the end of the day, they है तो Batman की film, no है तो मतलब it's not like
Yeah.
real people, it's fake people. Again in Dark Knight, there's one line that says, "Madness is like gravity. All you need is a little bit a little bit of a push," because he has to just mention gravity everywhere he goes. But overall, Batman Begins is my favorite out of the Batman movies.
Absolutely,
Also.
same. It's the
Yeah.
best Batman film, and it's also the best of the trilogy. It's my favorite Batman film. If I can stretch it to saying it's the best superhero film of all time,
You know, I would want to give, I think Logan gives it a run for its money because I thought Logan with Hugh Jackman was just a wonderfully sad, dramatic exploration
Yeah.
of what happens when you're not a superhero anymore. How,
Yeah.
how you choose to live your life and what are you going to do when, like, he has to, like, physically take care of Professor Xavier,
Yeah.
who can't walk anymore and they live, like, they don't even have home to live in anymore.
I always thought like Spider-Man 2 was the best one. Then Batman Begins clearly took over. And I totally understand Logan is a fantastic film. If I have to put like four best superhero films, I would definitely say Batman Begins, Spider-Man 2, Logan, and Pixar's The Incredibles.
So cute, Vinit. I think we've pretty much covered now everything, and the only thing that's left to talk about is Oppenheimer.
Wow, we covered like 11 Nolan films.
So proud of us. So proud of us. Time निकाल के किया हमने ये, even though we're in two different countries in two different time zones right now.
Yeah, by the way, if you are just wondering why Sucharita is so much bright light and I am in the darkness,
It's because I'm in New York and Vinit is in Mumbai.
Bombay. Yeah. All right.
Oppenheimer, dude, Oppenheimer. Let's talk. Let's go. Let's go.
So I'm excited, super excited. It's a subject that I'm like, I know about it when I was in engineering. I'm a huge science nerd. I love reading, watching, and everything about physics. The story is not lost on me. There are a couple of things that I'm super excited about, and there are a couple of things that I'm really, I won't say worried, but I want to know how he handles and how he tackles.
Hmm.
Number one, I'm really
Okay.
excited about because all this has to come down to Christopher Nolan, huge scale and visuals and everything. I want to understand what is this film really about? Like, is it
Yeah.
really? So I have no idea whether he'll go all the way to showing the bombings. I'm assuming he will not. If he does, I want to know that. But I think the film will mostly be about nuclear test, which is the Trinity test. In terms of the story structure, and as you said, like he's mentioned that this is more like almost like a memento sort of an approach to the structure in terms of there is a black and white
I mean, he's been
narrative.
saying that in his interviews that one
Yeah,
is subjective, one is objective.
one is objective. So I want to understand how it's tackling those. I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about a couple of casting choices.
Oh my God,
Uh,
yes. There's so many people
uh,
in this movie.
there are absolutely so when I went through the cast list of the film on the Wikipedia and I saw which scientist is being played by who. So Jack Quaid playing Richard Feynman
Yeah.
is the character I'm looking forward to. I'm 100% sure he is not a big character. He's not a big in the film. He won't be playing that huge of a part.
Yeah.
Because in the Manhattan Project also Feynman was newly
Yeah, he wasn't
graduated.
that involved in the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, he was newly graduated from college. Just done his. I'm not even sure if he had finished his PhD. But there's a great story about Feynman. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
they're included in the film. I'm also looking forward to that. So in the trailer, we see and the opening images when Oppenheimer puts on his goggles when the blast happens. So now
Yeah.
those goggles were made in a way that only high intensity light can go through them. And blast was supposed to be super high intensity, so you can see the blast. So when you put on the goggles before the blast, you couldn't see anything. And Feynman, so when
Oh.
Feynman put on those glasses, he didn't see anything. And he was young and cocky. And he's like, fuck it, man, I can't see anything. So he took off the glasses. So Feynman, I don't know how true, Feynman tells this story in his book called You Must Be Joking. You Must Be Joking, Mr. Feynman. So he said that I was the only one who saw the first ever nuclear blast with naked eye.
That's insane. Wow, what a story, dude.
So I want to know if they have put that apocryphal as a
Yeah.
part of the film.
Yeah.
The couple of things I'm worried about. See, by the time World War II came in, the progress of the way you work on science had drastically changed. In the 19th century, science was mostly done by these individual geniuses who would sit in their rooms and laboratories and apprentice of some other scientists and doing
And
their
like, wasn't
discoveries.
a lot of it happening in Europe, like, if
Yeah,
unless I'm mistaken?
no, most of it is happening in the Europe. But those were individual geniuses. Till Einstein's time, you see all individual greats. Post Einstein, when the science moved into progress into quantum physics, you couldn't do much those individual. You don't see much individual genius. So
Like,
science,
uske pehle, what you may call it, Edison and all that stuff was there before that.
Edison, Newton, uh,
Tesla.
all of these, right?
Yeah.
Till Einstein, they were. That's why a lot of units are named after individual scientists because they
Yeah.
did those discoveries
Yeah.
on their own. But you don't see those things now much because science became a very community endeavor. So Oppenheimer, the entire Manhattan Project, like there were like 3,000 scientists who worked on the nuclear bomb. Historically, Oppenheimer been called father of the nuclear
Atomic
bomb,
bomb.
which is not very correct because this was an effort by 3,000 different scientists. Most of the great discoveries that helped that the nuclear bomb get made were done by German scientists who flew from the Germany. The Germans and Hungarian scientists. Yes, Oppenheimer was the director of the entire project,
Manhattan Project.
and he was a genius in his
Yeah.
own way. I just hope that they don't put all the credit and all the blame on this one for whatever happens. So that's the only worry I have, in a sense, like about the film. The rest of it, yeah, mostly otherwise, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be an IMAX experience like none other. if you are around Mumbai, if you are in Mumbai, which a lot of my audience on my channel is, please book your tickets for IMAX Vadala. If you're in Mumbai and you can afford to go to IMAX Vadala, do
Yes.
not watch this movie anywhere else. I mean, there's really nothing else to it. But then if you, I understand those tickets are also expensive. So watch it at your nearest PVR. Wherever you are in the country.
But do not
nearest
miss
PVR.
this film in the cinemas. That's for sure.
अभी तुम आई थिंक पीवीआर ने ओपन कर दी ना एडवांस बुकिंग्स
Yeah.
तो प्लीज
I'll-
जाओ और अभी बुक करो जो भी तुम्हारा पास वाले जिस भी शहर में हो तुम्हें वहां पे पीवीआर तो हो गई ना आसपास तो जाओ और देखो क्योंकि वो पूरा साउंड का एक्सपीरियंस आई वुड इमेजिन it would be absolutely necessary to watch this movie that because it's a movie about bombs. We'll find out Cillian Murphy finally getting to play the titular character. So excited for him. Robert
Yes.
Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, great cast, lots of people. And this was a great conversation about lots of movies, Vinit. This was great,
Yes.
man. मजे
It
आ
was
गए यार
super
बड़े
fun.
टाइम के बाद.
Yeah, it was super fun.
हल्का, I'm feeling light.
I don't even remember when we did the Paul Thomas Anderson ka
Lockdown.
thing.
First
No,
lockdown.
First lockdown. Oh my God,
First
that
lockdown.
was so
But you know
long
the
back.
difference I'm feeling is what watching Christopher Nolan movies. I felt rewatching them where it was a little more strenuous. Watching Paul Thomas Anderson made like I think I grew as a person watching Paul Thomas Anderson movies all together in a group because they talk about human emotion in a completely different
Yeah.
fashion. Then obviously Nolan is about the science and about the passage of time, and PTA is about people, even though he's also like a lot of his protagonists are also maniacal and just like so devoted to their jobs that they don't really understand how to. Phantom Thread being the biggest example of it, which I fucking love.
Yeah.
That was a great fucking film. But PTA watching all together and Nolan watching all together is a completely different experience on a personal human level for me. But I love doing both.
I loved it. It was good fun. I generally loved watching early Christopher Nolan films again and again. So this was a very good excuse to go through
प्रेस्टीज देख के
all
तो
this.
मजे आ गए दोबारा यार मतलब मैं कम से कम 5-6 बार देख चुकी हूँ उस फिल्म को और एवरी टाइम हम लाइक कितनी अच्छी फिल्म है यार ये कितनी अच्छी फिल्म है इट्स परफेक्ट
Yeah. So yes, people, if you haven't seen any of the Nolan films, what are you doing? Just watch it.
Thank you Vinit for your time today. This was really great and I hope to see you soon, okay?
I hope to see you soon again, and let's come back. We'll watch the movie together.
और प्लीज जरा लोगों को मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करने के लिए बोल दे यार विनीत बहुत साल हो गए को मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ही नहीं कर रहा है
Arey, guys, what are you doing? This is the moment. This is the moment. There are videos on Nolan coming up. We will be doing another video on
Yes.
Nolan after watching
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, right?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
better all subscribe and please hit that bell icon. I don't do it for my channel. I'm doing it for Sucharita, so please do it.
Thanks my love. I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.